We are here with Travis Reeder today. We're at the St. Louis Auto Show, and my car just caught on fire. Like, really bad. And this only demo the fire department didn't show up. So it was, like, not a good time.
I blasted people with ice cubes.
You did. There was, like, a puddle that was frozen. Blasted. They were actually okay with it.
Yeah, total accident.
Glad it went the way it did and didn't, like, mess somebody up.
As soon as I fired off in the water box and the car snapped to the limiter, I was like, ooh.
I could just see in my rear view everybody going like...
I saw this just tsunami of ice cubes. I was like, this isn't going to be good.
But yeah, so I'm quiet and my voice is wrecked because of the fire and because I've been huffing street debris for the last 3 days.
And tire smoke.
It's still fun though.
Oh yeah. These demos are sick. It's a perfect balance between like a serious pro weekend and a fun weekend. Right in the middle.
Yeah, I feel like the same way. I feel like I'm in more of a like sharing drifting mode. Like I'm sharing it with all these people. Like it doesn't have to be so gnarly that I don't have to drive so crazy because you really can't because you got to do so many demos and so many laps and so many everything that like if you drive at 100 all the time, there's no way you're gonna make it.
The cars are not gonna last.
Or we're not gonna last. You're gonna max out the spot so soon that then it's not enjoyable almost. Like you kind of want to step it up. And, like, you could do something so simple, and most of the time, like, these people have never seen any drifting before.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, my gosh. Like, they just really want to see you do a standstill burnout. You could...
Dude, they get so hype if you do the, like, Aussie fire in 10th gear and flip it in backwards. They just get so stoked on that. They don't care if you're, like, threading the needle between the cone or, like, scraping the K-rail or whatever. It's just... If you huck it in backwards and stand on the gas, they go berserk.
It's so funny because I'm like, man... I got through this little spot so good. I was scraping my back bumper on the wall. Like I pivoted the car on the foot brake, got on the gas, got the next wall, and then flipped it back and like waved at everybody. Like it was so technical and so sick. And they're like, yeah. And then you just do a burnout, and they're like, freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing because like. Driving the S197, you know, it's super streetcar-y.
Yeah.
And so you're doing the whole, like, school bus, and I'm like, damn, I'm, like, ripping this thing because it's, like, hard to drive.
Yeah.
And it drives like it's 4,000 pounds, you know? And I go through, like, do my whole thing. I'm like, that was a good run. And then the next one, I just, like, stand on the brakes and just slowly do a rolling burnout around the thing, and everyone's just going berserk.
Berserk. It's, like, the easiest thing.
Yeah.
But, again, like, somebody even commented on one of my videos, too, like, it's a total different fan base. Like, you go to FD and, like, probably half the people there are, like, pretty analytical about it. They've seen drifting. If they want to go to watch Formula Drift and do all that, they've done some sort of research. Like, and then there's the other people that are maybe brought in, like, their friends or whatever. They don't really know anything about it. Their first experience with it. So there's, like, a lot of, like, educated, I feel like, people that are educated enough to understand. And then, like, here is not a lot of that. Like, it's probably 1 out of every 100 people have even seen drifting outside of this little box we're in, you know?
Yeah.
Like, some people come back every year and they're super pumped. And then I'm like, hey, we're actually coming here for FD this year. And then they're like, what? That's crazy. And they see that and they're like, this is crazy, you know? So it's just like, what I was saying is somebody was commenting and saying, you know, people that aren't so into the sport are so simple-minded, like, and when you do something that's just like, and I don't mean it in a bad way, they're just not educated within it because they haven't spent the time, and like when you do that burnout, like whatever, it's just like, rah, like it's like a metal band doing something, you know, versus like an orchestra.
It's a totally new experience for them, and it's cool because, like, being able to do rides at shows like this is like the best thing because you get to see someone stoked on drifting for the first time like you were when you first started.
Dude.
And that's like the best feeling.
It is cool.
Hands down.
It is cool.
So
it's a balance too because like some people are scared and they're like, yeah man, we're good, like let's go. I'm like, are you ready? Let's go. And they're like, yeah.
You get the really
and
quiet
then they're
ones.
like in the car like this, I'm ripping and they're like, that's like sensory overload, you know. And then you get people that are like out the window screaming, and I'm like panicking because I feel like they're freaking out. They're gonna hit my shifter or handbrake. It's like, wow! Like you're like, this is nuts. Like I can tell you're an introvert or an extrovert.
Yeah, the super hype ones are pretty
so
funny.
funny.
They go absolutely crazy. I wish that like I wish you could do almost 2 passes though, because everyone jumps in for their first time. They always have their phone out, and I feel like they miss a lot of the experience if they have their phone out. Like if I'm at a local track, like goofing off, and someone jumps in, I'm like, yo, first lap, no phone.
Yeah.
Second lap, do whatever you want, but just like watch and like
so
have
you
a
can
good time.
absorb it a little bit.
Yeah, because then you do the thing, and then you get out, and then you watch the video, and the video never turns out how you expect it to turn out.
No, because they're just like, oh, all this is happening.
Yeah.
Ah! It's like a Blair Witch Project movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for real. I say the same thing. They're like, oh, can I film? I'm like, you can, but I'm not sure you want to. Like, it's going to be a short ride, and like, it would be better if somebody filmed you on the outside, and you just enjoyed the ride. Like, that's the best for me, like, I feel like. Especially because that's another thing about these demos and most drift events is, like, everything's in one spot. You can see the whole thing start to finish, where, like, so many motorsports are, like, only 2 or 3 turns you can see. Yeah. And then, like, you got, oh, let's walk to the other turn on the track. Let's do this. You never see, like, the whole thing put together.
Yeah. That's, like, kind of a bummer, too, because, like, road racing is so fun, especially endurance stuff. Like, I will drive an 8-hour straight enduro in just the crappiest car and have the time of my life, but you see like 4 people in the stands because they're like, oh, bang,
it's not a spectator sport.
Yeah, it's like it's not the same.
They're there for the restarts and the starts.
Yeah,
like the green flags.
Yeah, like maybe we'll see a crash.
Dude,
maybe they'll go 4 wide into turn 1 in yard sale.
Especially you're talking about those endurance races like the Chump Car and Lemons and
Lucky
Chump
Dog.
and Lucky Dog, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like that stuff is so crazy when they do like a start. Because it's like 170 cars sometimes.
Bro.
And like there's the last place car isn't even on the same lap as the lead car because it's the whole track is wrapped people. And some people don't have radios or anything. So when you're like, let's say you're out and you're in the third group of cars, like a C group or something, and you start and you're car number 30 in that means you're like 120 cars back. And your radio, they tell you green. And like 70 dudes in front of you don't have radios. They're still waiting to see the car in front of them start going. Yeah. And you're just like, on the outside mobbing.
Dude, I love that.
So like, dangerous.
I was given the opportunity a few times with some of my FD crew guys to drive their Spec E46 car, and we were at Sonoma.
The Vic Racing guys, right?
Yep, yeah, the Vics.
They have an E46.
Yep. Yeah, it's sweet. And firing into turn 1, I think there was like 90 cars, A, B, and C class, all mixed together. They stage them like the fastest cars are in the front, but going up the hill blind under there and like coming over the crest
what's
at
gonna
the
be
bridge,
there?
you have no idea. It's so good.
It's just like a I-5 traffic jam, dude.
Yeah.
Or it's good and it works.
Yeah, I just like splitting traffic.
Yeah,
like
fun.
You're going around, you're like dodging through Miatas one way, and like you're getting passed by a vet on the outside in the grass. You know.
Oh yeah.
Like it's
just wild. It's
really
only
bizarre.
racing. Like I like that too, because like obviously drifting's sick.
Yeah.
But there's no passing really, and like in those fun type of endurance racing, it's competitive, it's serious, but like you can pass 10 people a lap every lap for an entire 2 hour stint. Like 10 passes per lap for 2 hours straight. Like it's just like you're driving in 95 traffic.
Yeah, never ending fun, and you're always doing something and trying to scheme on how to get past someone. And
long game, short game.
Yeah. The crazy thing though is last time I think like we won the Sunday at Sonoma, and the split between the cars was so small after 8 hours. Like some races, you're crossing the finish line, and your class, you're hundreds of like couple hundred laps in sometimes, and you'll cross the finish line and you'll beat the second place car by like 2.5 seconds. Yeah, over 8 hours,
which is so crazy how
wild.
That works out. Yeah. A little bit of a strategy too, you know, like if you're falling behind, you're pushing, you get drivers to push a little harder, run the car a little harder. And some of it's like, we're ahead, like shift to 5,500.
Conserve some fuel.
Conserve some fuel. We gotta go 2 hours. We gotta save the car. It's gotta last 12 hours, whatever. Yeah. And like, I've done some through the nights, like 24 hours straight. Yeah. And that's the game. But like, yeah, just in general. But yeah, the demo thing, it's kind of the same thing like we were talking about, going out there doing demos all the time, because it's like you're conserving some tires because you're going to drive, like this week is actually less demos than normal. We're only doing 8 demos, but they're an hour each, so we drive basically 8 full hours. And you want to conserve tires because you don't want to have to do 4 tire changes per time you go out there. And you got to keep the show going and do all that. And you're like, you want to ramp it up because you want to keep the excitement going throughout the show. And like even for yourself to not get bored, like you want to keep each demo, we keep stepping it up a little farther. And like our next demo is like demo 6.
Yeah.
And we're like 15 or 20% harder than demo 1 or 2. So it's like the strategy behind it to keep it exciting and fun and like put on a good show.
Yeah, start off with single runs and then we'll work a tandem in, and then we'll switch up, and towards the end, like burn the block down, do the whole thing,
right,
and
catch on fire.
Try not to catch on fire.
We did 3-car tandem yesterday in the tiny little box.
Dude,
that was crazy.
The fan at the end worked out perfect.
It did.
The triples.
It was crazy.
Such a small spot.
And that was like we were all pretty turned up by then. It was
Yeah.
good. But like that scenario is way different than like competitive drifting or even just drifting for fun at a local event or even like, just your regional type of events. It's just very different. Like I would say these demos are similar to, like for me at least, are similar to the local regional events that I'll go drive for fun and just kind of show up and enjoy driving with people I don't know and different cars and whatnot. And then FD is like just a totally different scenario.
Yeah. I get asked a lot. The differences are like mainly it's like, do you still have fun driving FD? Because it's so serious all the time, and like absolutely, it's super fun. I love the competition and I love the strategy and the more professional side of it. But it's a totally different game.
Oh, like, well, it's a game.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Definitely.
Like, so kind of a poor word to use, like game, because that seems like it's not really what you want to do. It's like I got to play the game thing.
Yeah, but it's not like that.
It's not like that. It's like more of like there's a strategy and a process to everything, I feel like. With FD at least. Everything has a process and everything has to be like well thought out. And like that's exciting and that's cool because like you have a team and you have guys on your team that do some things, other things, and like everybody's got to work together as a team and do all that. But like when we're driving for fun, it's like, I guess I should toss tires on this and go drive somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, watching everybody drive, like, everybody out there is doing good, like, they're fine. Like, I'm going to just wait a little bit and drive some more. Like, it's like a very, like, laid-back chill, but, like, FD is, like, schedule.
Yeah.
Car's got to be ready. Car needs a ton of service between you do every little thing. So it's like you were saying, it's like it's the game or, like, really it's just processes.
Yeah, there's excitement in that for me, though. Like, I love showing up to the track and, going in the trailer with the dudes, and I'm like, all right, this is what we got to do today. Boom, 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 knock it out, get the car out there, and as soon as the car's warmed up, fired up on grid, I'm stoked to run the practice session, and I like that. But yeah, there's not really, you can't really cross them over because, like, I wouldn't want to drive my FD car at like a fun event, like
You've done it before.
I have
me too.
For testing, but
it is the most nerve-wracking thing ever.
Yep.
Because it's not what it's built for.
Yeah.
Like, at least that's how I feel. Like, when I drive my pro car, like even my personal pro car, when I would take it out, I think that's more relatable. Because now, if I'm going to go drive an event with people in my pro car, my FD car, like, we're using it for testing and whatever. And, like, it's not really my personal car. And I'm there to maximize that car all the time. So it's a little bit different. But, like, I remember taking my pro car out places and be like, I hate this.
Yep.
Like, this is not fun.
Yeah, not at all.
Because I'm like, if it's not the most exciting thing I've ever done, I'm like, dude, just because I drove today, it's 3 days of prep work after this.
Yeah.
That's before anything even breaks. Because I went and drove this fun event, and like, this is not worth that.
And it's money too. Like the cost of operating is so high. Plus, you don't ever get. I feel like I get way less out of a test day in the pro car than I would by taking my 200 horsepower E36 to a fun day.
Yeah.
Because like you can't drive with anybody in that.
Oh no.
Because the car's way too fast.
Oh
and
yeah.
Like you're like running people over, smoking someone out, and they can't like. It's pointless for both sides.
Yeah.
But.
No, it's crazy because like you were saying, like I have people all the time. They're like, "Oh man, like how come you didn't bring your pro car out here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's like, fuck, $25,000 a day to drive that thing." And they're like, "Oh yeah, but like how come you didn't bring it out?" I'm like, let's rewind here. First off, that's the easiest way. Is like I usually just tell somebody something that's like should be like, wow, okay, I see why.
Mm.
But they're like, you're rich. What's 25 grand? I'm like, 25 grand is insane. Like,
Yeah.
like I could buy a car and go drive and drift an entire year paying full retail for everything to drive this car one day.
Yeah.
So like, and it's just stressful, and like the cars are so different, and like it's so hard to like explain that to someone. Like, you know, your E36, 200 horsepower, 200 whatever, close. It's an M52, right, with S50 cams and a good angle kit, and like you go out there and you have to drive probably 70 to 100% throttle the entire time, right? And it's hooked up. And like a lot of guys we drive with have 350, 400, maybe even 500 horsepower. That car can probably do everything it needs to do because you're a good driver, right? And like that car costs you $250 a day to go drive, like 1%.
Yeah, I can blow up a clutch fan every event for the entire year, and it still costs less than one test day in the pro car, even if I got to put a radiator in every time. But like, it's sick because like I don't have to worry about, like you said, breaking parts, prepping it. It doesn't have to be together for the next round. Doesn't have to go in the trailer and cross the country immediately after the test day. I hate going to the dyno with the pro car, dude. Dyno
So
days
stressful.
suck, and it's always the last spin, no matter how much you prep. You're always on the back end of it. But yeah, the practice cars are just like, there's a time and place for all of it, and like I'm just stoked that I have the opportunity. I'm sure you are the same, to be able to experience so many different types of drifting.
Yeah.
That you never get, like I never get bored with it, because if maybe I'm like tired of the stress of the competition day, I get home and I jump in the practice car and I go do 100 laps with the boys and like, you know, crush doors in and have a blast. I'm like, okay, cool. Like it's a different scenario, and I'm never like, I'm just constantly driving, constantly having fun in a different way. And I'm super like pumped to be able to do that.
Yeah, I kind of have the same feeling. Like the FD thing, like for me it's always about, like I try to drive and be better than my last lap all the time. And that's like to a flaw, right? Like I grew up skateboarding, BMXing, we were kind of talking about this earlier, like doing all that, and like there's no limitation to that, right? And I'm not saying drifting has a limitation, but like, you know, oh, I did a kickflip. Okay, now I do a varial flip. Now I do a tray flip. And then you're like, did that off 4-stair, 5-stair, whatever. Now I'm going to do it off 6-stair. Like that's just like why it evolves and does everything all the time, right? But I feel like drifting is like a little bit more confined because, you know, there's fluidity, there's the angle, there's the style, there's this, that, and the other. But like realistically, like we're like getting to that last little bit all the time, like where it's like, cool, we showed up, we did our first laps, and you're probably like, my first lap was 90% of it.
Yeah.
Like, I did the thing.
Yeah, the
And,
last
like,
10% though.
Right.
That's the hard part.
Right.
And the fun
like,
part.
And sometimes I'm like, yeah, that run was sick, I like that, but like, I didn't like how I did this. And then I'm like, I gotta improve that. And that's like racing in general, right? But for me, it's like, I just keep going and going, and like, I should be like, at time to go to battles, I'm like, I've done all my practice, it's time for me to just keep doing what I've done. But I'm like, that's lame, that's boring.
Yeah.
Right? But like with these demos and stuff, I have no problem doing that. But I'm like, drifting, this is the highest form of it. Like this is Formula D, this is like, or whatever series it is, like you're at the professional level, my car is capable, I'm capable, I just want to keep doing that little bit better every lap. So it's like tough on that end.
Yeah, because like you get to a point where the progression is good and everything, but there's always a limiting factor outside for that progression, whether it be the car or the track or even like your mindset. But you're always trying to get more and trying to work through that. But that's why I like both sides in that sense too, because like you can kind of almost put the road race mentality into a practice car at the fun track, because like we never get to do just back to back over and over laps at FD or in the car ever. So like if you're at a fun event and say it's wet and you can just hot lap forever, like I've done 60 straight laps at Park, Spirit Peaks, all those places. I've probably done 60 laps straight until the car's out of gas.
And and in that like hour, you probably learned more than a season in your FD car.
Absolutely. And it doesn't even matter that the car's not the same as the pro car. To me, I feel like it's just keeping the like sharpness and, you know, keeping your mental smooth and I don't know. It's more important. I feel like
it is too.
Than seat time in like the crazy pro car.
Yeah, I agree. That's like kind of my the whole concept. Even we talked previously about like smaller tire and like doing that and trying to make like drifting not slow it down, but just kind of future proof it a little bit. And like it's kind of my same thought process. Is like everybody would get to 90% faster that way. So like, and everybody would be like, well, that's like a disadvantage to you because you show up and you said your first lap was 90, and I'm like, yeah, but like I still have to chase whoever's driving in front of me, and even though from the outside their lap might look great, if it was smoother and had less corrections or less little things that we're reading while we're driving, like it would be easier to do that, you know? And like you said, the lap after lap after lap. Well, in FD, like how many times do you get to chase the same dude twice?
Yep.
Not very much.
And how many times is it what you expect it to be?
Right, and also like you don't even know what their car is going to be. Are they hooked up right now? Because who'd they drive in practice against before? Did they have a problem and now they free their car up? Is their car broken? Is it let down on power? Are they turning the power up? Are they trying this? Are they trying that? So you're like, in practice, you could be like, dude, I just adored Osbo and destroyed him in that run. But you can't be like, that's a good thing. You'd be like, oh, cool, that was a great practice run, but that might not be what I battle in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be like, damn, he was all up on me.
And they turned it up.
Yeah. And so then you're like, he's going to turn it up. Do I turn it up? Like,
and then you're like, damn it, I showed my cards.
Right.
You know?
I should have done that.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I just adore everybody all the time. Doesn't matter who it is. But yeah, it's just like, that's what I'm saying. We're trying to say like the mental capacity of it, right? Whereas like doing that hour-long session where you're hot lapping in your fun car, you're super focused, doing the same exact type of focus, but you're like unlocking these little things over and over again where you probably never get to do at FD.
Yeah. I mean, I'll always drive. I'll change a habit and I'll just focus on doing one thing different to kind of like I'll just drive the track over and over again without the handbrake.
Yeah.
You know? And try to just like drive it in
That's
on
so
throttle.
fun.
Drive it in on throttle, and if I can lock the tire into the outside line, and I do it sooner and sooner and sooner, and like try to drop into the pocket as quick as you can.
Right.
And make the transition snappier and more angle and more throttle, and, you know, like just play that game over and over. And there's always times where like you feel like you create a new skill. You'll be like, oh, I've never done that before, and it felt super sick.
Yeah. That's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And like I have that happen all the time. 20 years of doing this almost, 19 or something, and I do something and I'm like, dude, or I realize I've been doing something.
Oh yeah.
That's like
that happens more often than not. I'm like, damn, I'm like doing this wrong.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. I do this thing where, like in my FD car, that when I'm at a track that has a decel zone, right, and I'm like on the power, let's say like Atlanta, right, I'm on the power going up, and you know you use the handbrake to set the car a little bit, and then you float the car in, and hopefully it all went well and like fills the zone. And if it doesn't, you probably do another check or like whatever. But I did this thing for like ever, for the longest time. Like I would be on the handbrake checking, and I would have my foot on the front brake to like stabilize the front end. But I would always come up short. And rather than not getting on the brake, I would just go faster and faster. But I would brake harder and harder. So all I would do is like create this like using the decel zone, but like really using it.
Yeah.
And then one day, like a couple years ago, I was driving my fun car, and I was like, why are you doing that? Stop doing that. Like, you don't need to do that. And then I don't do it anymore. And I'm like, man, the momentum is so much better. Like, but my pro car, I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on doing what the judges wanted to see, and that doesn't really matter to them. But like to me, I'm like, dude, momentum, I don't do that. Way smoother, way sicker, easier.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? Why you got your foot on the brake?
Yeah. My most recent one of those was like in the chase on transitions, like overcooking the transition speed and letting the car dive too hard, and then making the mistake of having to like make a correction behind them and drive into the pocket. Like I would over dive and they wouldn't have enough speed, and I'd have to like back up out of the way and come back in.
Correct.
And I'd always be too aggressive on trying to get to the pocket too fast.
Yeah.
And then I started watching like over and over again FD replays, and I'm like, oh, I did it there, I did it there, I did it there.
Because it's the positioning of the transition and the speed of it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you have a super fast transition, that's great. But if dude in front of you doesn't,
Yep.
then you're like jammed up.
Yep. But if you do the slow roll to watch them, you feel so lame.
So lame.
Yeah.
But that's what like most of the people who win do.
Because it's the smart thing to do.
It is a smart thing to do.
But
I know, and like my car won't even do that most of the time, unless it's on a small part of the track. Like I don't have enough power to blow through it like that.
yeah.
That's such a crazy thing. Like it's not that I don't have enough power. It's the car's too hooked up. Like
Yeah.
really, it's not a power limitation.
Yeah,
It's just
I can't wheel speed loose through a transition. No way. I have
Yeah,
to wait
but
to
you
the
can,
very
like-
last second and then
You
come
can
in.
at like Seattle infield.
Yeah,
You
for
can
sure.
at like Road Atlanta. You
Mhm.
can like there's places you can, but we're just
Yeah.
tapped out on the big end of the tracks. Like
Yeah.
everybody really is, besides a couple people.
Yeah.
Or they're not hooked up to that point, which is like another conversation, complexity. That, like,
Yeah.
is it faster to have a car hooked up like that, or is it faster to have it free and be able to drive it?
Yeah. You'll never know.
Right, but like at when you go drive your fun car, like the comparison is like, oh, these guys are fast. You just let some air out of your tires,
Yeah. Yeah,
or drive with
exactly.
less angle,
Yeah.
or whatever.
We've been doing that all weekend, like trying to cater the demo cars better to suit better tandem.
Yeah.
Like the stick axle cars have way more forward. You
Yeah.
know, so we're like taking forward out of it and like adding some side because that's
Yeah.
like my preference, so that like neither person gets rolled. You know.
Yep.
But-
Yeah, and even when we drive, like the definition of like running the bro line, which is like the wider and like easier to chase and stuff that like we try to teach people to do
Yeah.
at normal events that are, you know, even competition, like you don't really want to chop anybody, but obviously like you're supposed to just run the best run you can. But in like the bro line thing at demos is the truth.
Yeah.
It is like I'm like super wide and I'm super like slow down gradually, light off. When I light off, I even like on the brake, left foot brake for a second, then roll out of it, so the speed is just like this really like
Yeah.
smooth and easy to follow chase. So we can, because I know like my job as a lead car is literally to just be a moving clipping point and make it as easy as possible for the guy in the chase, and
Yeah.
then switching vice versa, because the chase is obviously way more fun. Sorry, you don't get to chase that much here.
Yeah, it's still fun, dude. Whatever, I'm out here like drifting for the week. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
It's all good time.
For sure.
I had a funny thing like that though. I went to Spirit last weekend with my E36, and a friend of mine, Panic, brought a Corolla out. It was like 4AC.
The SR5 one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
I saw a
stock.
video of
Yeah,
that.
hilarious. The thing made, I think he said 64 horsepower on a dyno jet.
Yeah, I would be surprised if
Yeah.
it made 64.
Yeah. So, and we're out there driving together, and even though it's wet, he's like driving 11 tenths.
Yeah.
But you never want the difference in cars to be big to where the most frustrating thing for me is not being able to have the drive to chase someone
Right.
and like be close. You know, getting rolled is like really frustrating. But he
It's
obviously
frustrating to everyone.
Yeah, he obviously
It's the
couldn't
worst.
keep up because the E36 in the rain is just the best car you could possibly have in the rain.
I feel like he probably wasn't that slow, though.
It wasn't horrible, but I felt like I had a lot of fun acting like I was almost driving two cars. So I'm running the wide line, but I'm still on the brakes, and I'm looking at my peripherals the whole time, and I'm keeping the gap.
Keeping
the same.
him there,
If
yeah.
if he slows down, I'm like, ooh, and I'll like back up,
Yeah.
and I'll like get him back in the pocket.
Right.
And I had so much fun doing that because I was like focusing on so many different things at once.
Right.
And it was just like, it was a good time. You will never have that type of driving at a competition.
No.
So,
No way.
but
I mean, at times I do, I feel like Orlando, second turn. Tell me you're not like looking at the dude behind you and like waving.
Oh,
it's
for
like,
sure,
you just
yeah.
like lock into that, and like that's one of the very few tracks that I'm like actually subconscious of like what the dude behind me is doing. Like you never really think in tandem and battling or whatever what the dude behind you is doing, because it needs all your focus to hit every one of the marks and put the car where it needs to. Like because our tracks only have 2 or 3 turns, like you have to be absolutely perfect every time, and a foot is like could mean winning or losing, you know.
yeah.
So like, but in Orlando, when you get in that groove and you kind of go, there's really not a lot of you can do with the car.
Yeah, it's so easy. You're just chilling.
So like, I'm chasing people, I'm leading people, and I got all of us in the last turn. We're like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
And then we're like,
Yeah, I do like that. Yeah, because that's good. Because like Orlando's that track that it's so cruise control.
Yeah.
For
Once you get set.
for more of the field than not. Like
yeah,
that's why Orlando qualifying scores are always like
So close.
80% of the fields in the 90s. You know? So, and you're separated by a style point for the entire top 10.
Right.
Usually.
Yeah, it's crazy too. Like, it's such a interesting track because, like, if it was a really nice track, it would be really boring.
Yeah. Well,
It's the fact that it's a piece of shit that makes it fun.
We talk about this all the time. The sketchy skate park
Right.
vibe is the
That's
best.
what it's like.
Yeah.
It's like we don't have Wall anymore, which was the sketchy skate park
Yeah.
vibe. So this is like the replacement for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
With the big jumps on the infield, and they're like, "Oh, we repaved this," and you're like, "You only repaved it where we don't drive." Like, but like whatever.
The jump just got worse because now there's grip in there, so you
Yeah.
pick up 5 miles an hour.
Well, yeah, they had these bumps in the track, and they just paved over them, so it just made them taller.
It's just a grippy whoop section now.
Yeah. And then, like, the lead car, they, like, to get the line right without choking up at Interclip 2, has to hit them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the chase driver, if they hit them, when the lead car does, it's over. You're getting rolled.
Yeah.
Because they're landing and taking off while you're in the air.
Yeah.
So it creates a gap that then has to be solved. So, like, you have to turn your brain off and run your own line through there almost for, like, a short period of time.
Yeah.
But it's not any different than, like we said, like driving with your friends for fun. Because, like, you drive with a bunch of dudes. Like, recently I drove an event, and it was a bunch of my friends that haven't driven in years. I'm talking, like, 10 years. And I'm like, what's going to happen this lap? Because they're, like, all the confidence, and they've been building their car in the garage for 10 years.
Yeah.
And they're all, like, ready to friggin' explode when they get to the track.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm running them down and chasing them. And it's the same thing. It's like, what's going to happen? Where are they going? I don't think they know where they're going, you know, because everybody's figuring it out and learning it. And, like, you know, we show up and we're, like, at that 85 or 90 right off the bat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been cool. Like I said, like you said, there's so many different facets and things to drifting that's what keeps me, like, doing it and excited about it.
Yep.
Like, the YouTube Invitational with LZ, totally different scenario. That was crazy. Like, it was just like a totally different driving experience. You had, like, I've never been to a competition that had, like, people that don't really drift at, and then also people that really do drift, and, like, cars that are FD cars, like, fast, and cars that are incredibly slow.
Yeah.
And Porsche Cayenne drift cars, like the SUV.
Oh, yeah.
And, like,
I saw that thing.
Yeah, and, like, just weird stuff, because it's about, like, it's more about the celebration of drifting than the actual drifting itself, which is fine. Like, it's cool to see. But, like, it just made it so that, like, yo, what is going on here? Like, who am I driving with? How do I do this? You have to give everybody a little room, because you don't know when they're going to light off, you know? And then, same thing, we go to an event like, let's say, Grid Life, and it's a bunch of the FD dudes, and they're all in pretty sick cars, but it's all driving for fun.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that same scenario where it's like, I know what they're going to do. I know where they're going. It's FD, like, cool, but all of our cars are freed up a little bit. So everybody's running, like, 7-8 car trains that are better than they are at FD, and we're just driving for fun because, like, they're freed up a little bit. There's no stress of anything.
Yeah. No one's trying to, like, overdo their car to try to get a competitive edge. It's all about the fact that, like, having good tandem is the most important.
Right.
That's, like, the whole point of drifting.
Exactly.
And, like, that can be a whole nother, like, crazy conversation we could, like, roll into. But, like, I try to explain to people that, like you said about the bro line, like, my best drifting memories are from the craziest tandem experiences that I can come up with.
Right.
Or being in some wild situation in a car that I don't know if this is going to work, and you're, like, inches from someone, or, like, someone comes up behind you and you're stacked, or you got 10 of your homies at the local track, and everyone just bouncing off each other's mirrors. And
yeah, and you're like, this could all end so fast, but it's working.
Yeah, and you're like, who is going to make the transition move first? Because everyone's locked in having a good time, and one person lifts a little bit, or one person makes the wrong mistake, and the whole domino effect comes down.
But if you're all super tight, it's normally fine. It's whenever there's a gap.
Yeah,
that's
someone's
the
trying to
biggest
catch.
thing. Yeah, like, whenever there's a gap is when it always happens. If you all are super, super close together and everybody spins out, it's normally, like, little dings and dents, maybe tie a rod or something. But when there's a gap, then it gets really bad. So, like, I do the thing where I'm
slingshot.
Yeah, right, exactly. But, like, I'll be running, and you take off from the line and everybody's supposed to be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and like whatever, and like I'm 5 and I'm supposed to be the last person, and then like 7 people dive in behind me, and I'm always just like, I should just turn off the track right now.
Yeah.
Because like people don't. I'm not saying that is wrong. You should never do that. But I'm saying like those dudes are maybe not on, their cars are faster or slower, not on the same thing like we've been working at all day to have our cars be dialed. Like we show up to the track and drive our fun cars together, and for the first 30 laps, we're out of the car every lap, like getting the cars to be like as close as possible so we can just both drive at 100% the whole time. And then you get a dude that's like, oh, like that's Chelsea and Travis, they're ripping, I'm gonna go rip with them, and they're in like a super hooked up car because they think that our cars are super hooked up, and then either crashing into us or doing something.
It's still all fun though. I miss stock-ish E36 tandems at Park. Endless laps at that place is so good in a BMW.
I mean,
or
it's
any
so good
any just car in general. The track's just so good. But
I've driven that track with more cars than any other track for sure, and like it just works. It's like one of the only tracks in the country that like you could build anything you want and it will work.
Yep.
Like anything, like a pickup truck, like there's a hard body, and like I'm like I can make that work, like or whatever. My Mustang, like the FD cars, like it's a little small for the FD cars, but it still works.
I used to test there
Yeah.
in the FD cars. It was great.
Yeah, it still works. It's a lot more off throttle than the other cars because you get up so much speed so quick, and then you gotta slow down. But like, and then like the back turn in the FD cars is the most dangerous thing I've ever done.
It's great for cooling system testing too, and steering testing.
Durability,
lock to lock, super loaded.
Yeah.
Cars are gonna get hot. If they're gonna get hot, they're gonna get hot there. That's for sure.
Okay, so demos, fun driving with like FD and like really, really high caliber drivers, let's say, and FD. Which one is the most satisfying? Like when you go home after the day, like what's the most fulfilled one of all of that?
It's pretty easy for me.
Okay.
And this is why I love drifting and still do it on the competitive level, is because to this day I feel like I got the most out of it, had the most enjoyment on a day that I go to the local track with my boys and just stack for the entire day.
Yeah.
In a crappy car.
That's sick. And like it's low stress and low effort before and after. Like so like you get a lot for a little, I feel like.
Yep. It's not to say FD or demos and all that stuff isn't fun. Like we were talking about this whole video, but like I still to this day get the most enjoyment out of the situation that I started with in drifting. And
for sure.
That's a big thing for me. That's what makes it worth it.
Yeah. I'm with that. I feel similar about that. I just have like two total different mindsets when it comes to it. Like I feel like when I go drive for fun and there's like no ties to anything, like no like basically I'm doing it just to go drifting. Like when I worked at Park all the time and had the school there, I would go drive by myself all the time. Like it sounds stupid. Like at my point, like doing lead laps over and over again is kind of like could get boring. But like by myself, I'm like, this is what I did. Like when I first started drifting, I would go out and street drift just by myself. Like there wasn't anybody really who drifted when I started drifting, so it was like by myself, cruising, listening to music, jamming, trying different shit, messing around, like figuring it out, and then like tandeming and driving my friends. That's sick. It's cool. It's like I have a lot of fun doing it. I really, really, really enjoy that. And like I feel like in a day, if that was the goal, that's the easiest way to like enjoy the day, like we were talking about.
Yeah,
like
and get the most out of it. Progress the most.
But like for me at FD, I go drive and I'm like, realistically, the only reason I drive FD is because I get to drive with the best people. Like everyone there is the best in the country, outside of like maybe 5 or 8 other dudes in other countries or whatever, maybe even more. I'm just saying, like the dudes that are there are the best in the business. And like for me, I'm like being able to drive with them. That's the only way that happens. And like being able to drive with them when it's something that is everybody's maximizing it.
Yep.
Like when we go drive with our friends and all that, we're maximizing the amount of fun we can have and like maximizing how close the cars can be and using our talents to like have fun with it. but it's like a little bit repetitive almost.
Yeah.
Whereas like FD is like you never know what you're gonna get, but you know everybody's doing the absolute best they can at every single moment.
Yep, that's true. I agree with that. I do like the fact that showing up at an FD event is there's no way to not get anything out of it because the level of driving is so crazy.
Yeah.
And everyone's pushing so hard to elevate themselves and their cars and their teams that it is huge and super important.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the growth in FD is nuts. I feel like so many sports like road racing, drag racing, all that. Like drag racing is like cool, like the drivers work on some things to get faster and do that. And like but they're like constantly like, how do I get more power? How do I get more power to the ground? How do I do this? How do I do that? How do we look at the rule book and figure out what we can do? And like road racing is like, oh, I made a mistake this lap, but it's okay because there's, between 16 and 300 more.
Yeah.
Like
yep, you can
cool.
make up the time.
Yeah, and like all that stuff. Like every bit of those motorsports have like their thing. But like it's crazy. Like I feel like pro road race dudes don't go out and just run lapping days in a car. Maybe they do.
I don't know. I've never seen it.
I don't know.
But then again, I don't do a lot of lapping.
Yeah, maybe. Like no one's gonna go out to like a chin event or something who's like a ripper, like a Trans Am driver or something. They're gonna rent the track and drive it.
That's true. Drifting is the only motorsport that I've seen that like the pros go to the local tracks regularly.
Yeah, and you're not gonna see like John Force like go jump in his like street car that he's modified and whatever and make 20 passes down the track to go faster or something. It's just like total different, like grassroots motorsports. Everybody talks about it, but the drifting is like the definition of that to the T.
So if you want to drive FD in serious competition, you don't go to the local drift track on the weekends. You're messing up.
Right, exactly. It's
prioritize the simple seat time, dude, with your boys.
Time.
Yeah.
Like I always think that how like literally it's like the most funny thing ever. Like I don't like worry about this shit, but like I'm like I drive more than anybody else ever. I feel like I drift more than anyone. I can't name a single person that drifts more than me. I'm not bragging about it.
No, for sure. I feel like I drive a lot, and then I'm seeing you drive double what I'm driving.
Dude, it is like so much. Like I probably drift at minimum an average of 2 days a week. Because like sometimes it's 10 days straight.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like 7 days not by choice and 3 days by choice. I'm not saying like I don't want to go drive when it's not my choice, but there's job related things involved as well. Not complaining whatsoever. Yeah. But like imagine going and driving 7 days like where you have a job and like you have scheduled things and then you're like, oh, but I'm here and there's a drift event going on. I'm gonna go drive that too.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I probably last year, I should count it, but I probably drove 80 or to 100 days last year.
Wasn't it 2 years ago we did this demo? And they had they had an event in the lot at
we went over there.
Gateway. We took the demo cars over there and ran laps at the local drift event.
I was like, dude, we could get the tow truck to come and take our cars over there and bring a few tires and we could rip some laps. And he's like, let's go,
yeah,
dude.
I'm down.
And it's like, realistically, like, why did we do that? We wanted to go do it.
Yeah.
And it's drifting and see what it's about. Because I'd never been to one of the local events here.
Yeah.
Only FD stuff.
Never ends, dude. It's an addiction.
It is I feel like it's so fulfilling and it's not bad for you. It might be bad financially. But there's ways to work around that too.
I don't know, dude.
I think it's bad.
I'd be spending my money on something probably way less beneficial if I wasn't in drifting.
I probably wouldn't be making money if I wasn't drifting.
Also true.
I just would have no real need to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like right now I work and make money and try to do things and hustle and do all that so that I can do that and enjoy it. While having quality of life with other stuff, but I feel like I'm motivated by the passion that drifting is for me. But if I wasn't drifting, I would be probably broken. Because I would just have kept doing extreme sports and trying to elevate and be 1% better than the last time over and over and over and over again for the last 18 years.
Yeah. I mean, I stopped skateboarding when I got a car.
Right.
Started drifting.
Yeah.
I mean,
has-beens over here, dude.
Dabbled here and there, and I'll occasionally jump on a skateboard, but with age comes the cage, you know.
Right.
Not
I know.
trying
I
to
hate
jump
that
down
saying because
stairs.
it's so lame.
It's so it makes me feel old.
Oh, it makes me feel old
and broken.
But the thing is like it's you say that and you're like, oh, okay, everybody immediately goes like, cool, they're not doing the other thing anymore. And you're like, no, I still skateboard, I still ride bikes, I still do stuff, but
The problem is with age comes the cage statement. Yeah, we're not jumping down stair sets, but we're backing the car into a wall at Irwindale at 95 miles an hour
yeah, it's safe.
and crashing into stuff, which is safer.
Yeah, it's way safer.
You think so?
I feel like I would rather do that than try to kickflip a six stair right now.
Yeah, I guess.
And I feel like I used to kickflip six stair all like that was like the cool.
Yeah.
Ollie it and then we're just gonna kickflip.
But if you kickflipped a six stair twice a week until now,
Yeah,
like
you're right.
like you were drifting, it'd be
fine.
you know.
But I'm not. I'm drifting, and I'm not going to kickflip a six stair.
Yeah.
I'll flat ground as a kickflip. Word.
But
Good chatting with you.
Yeah, man.
We're out.
sick.